Hey everybody! Welcome to Reckless Attack!
Hi!
Wow, it's almost like we weren't having a total other conversation right before this.
Yep.
You mean a total mental breakdown before this?
Yes. Well, it can. That can be a kind of conversation, I would say. I am your totally stable, totally very good, feeling super great GM Nathan here with our excellent players. And where are we? Oh, that's right. We're at the table of Reckless Attack. And what is Reckless Attack? Why, it's a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. Thank you so much for asking. Before we jump into today's adventure, I, as always, would like all of these excellent players to remind us who they are, who they're playing, and, I don't know, a cool color. That last part's optional. Again, everything's great here. Thanks for asking. To my right is...
Hi, everyone. I am Red-Headed Steve.
Yeah. That's why you're professional. That's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah. That's, wait, what?
Anyway,
I am playing Selv Asterlin, the now 6th level Dragonborn monk.
Ooh, yes.
And,
very cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. So that's why there's a whole other episode dedicated to level ups.
Check us out on Patreon.
And Selv's feeling pretty good about getting to Deepwood and the relative safety of a enormous tree.
Yeah.
So good. No notes. To my right.
Hi, everyone. I'm David, and I play Kascorin But, the Dwarven Morlock. And green.
Seems appropriate for a giant, large tree in front of you.
It took me a moment. I was like, green? What is he? Oh, right. The color.
That's it. That's all I got. The mental breakdown continues.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan, and I play Checkers, the Grung Druid, and his trusty frog pals Mango and Junior. And for some reason, my brain keeps going to the color mauve.
Ooh, okay.
And that's not a color that I think really comes up a lot.
You know what? It's because my brain kept going to that color, and I was going to stop. But I settled on another one.
Okay.
Power of twins.
Right, and I'm like, where is this color coming from? It's you.
It's from David.
It's me.
Clearly-
I'm staring into your eyes,
You did this to
beaming
me.
this color.
Clearly, you two are not sitting far enough apart.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess
Remote recording is
Yeah.
kicking in here at Reckless Attack.
I don't like this. But you know who might like this? Sophie.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and I play Valeska Carter, the human asterisk cleric of the Arcana domain. Chartreuse.
Hey.
Just because it's fun to say.
So is Mauve.
It's a good.
I don't like
I heard
saying
somebody.
Oh, what, really?
Somebody.
I don't
How
like
did they say it? They said mauve.
Mauve.
Is that it?
No, like mauve.
I think I've heard that before.
It broke my brain a little bit.
Sound
when
off in the comments. It's really spell it out how you pronounce mauve. And Jonathan, does that improve your experience with the word mauve? Mauve.
Can I go home now? I don't want to be here anymore.
I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking about a charcuterie board, but
Chartreuse?
charcuterie.
You know, guys,
It's like highlighter yellow. It's not.
they always say to always record your podcast episodes like it's somebody's first podcast episode that they're ever listening to you. And for those of you who that's the case, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Go
Yeah,
back
no,
to
wait.
episode 1. It'll all make sense in context. 63 episodes later, I promise. These are all deep lore jokes that you just aren't ready for. Shh, don't tell them.
I mean, if they started now, they're really missing out because they haven't heard about the eye spots.
Oh, anyway, now I want to go home. Guys, this is episode 64.
Crazy.
Wow.
That's a whole console that Nintendo has released.
It's true.
And we've done that many episodes.
We now have that many bits.
Yes, and that's pretty cool. And you know what's even cooler?
Ice pods.
Nope.
No, false.
It's not.
Actually.
Never.
Untrue.
No.
They're great.
It cost you nothing to not say that.
Sophie, you're in podcast timeout.
Go to the
Now
corner,
you see what
Sophie.
it feels like, Sophie. You see what I have to deal with all the time.
But see, you're terrorizing people in game. I'm sorry, I'm just terrorizing.
You're
you
just
all.
terrorizing the
People out
players.
of
Yeah. You know what is both very cool and very terrorizing is the size and scope of Deepwood, right?
Wow.
Guys?
Wow.
Flawless judo flip into the episode. That's right. You guys, after I think 8 days, basically, we've recalculated off air or decided off air of traveling from the Red City of Agmar, you have finally made it to your first real waypoint and kind of your only real known destination as part of this journey to meet mysterious sorceress Lorana Moonglove, as well as help the other members of the Bones, the undead centurions. And that is at Deepwood. In front of you all is an unbelievably giant tree. Larger probably than almost any living thing you've ever seen. It is hundreds and hundreds of feet up in the air, but you are still able to make out a good amount of detail. There are several waterfalls going all through this city, which is carved out kind of in the middle of this foliage. I believe we unfortunately described it as a tree city sandwich, where there is foliage above and foliage below this strange wooden city with motes of light and activity, and there is all kinds of interesting activity and living matter there. There is moss. There is a large mushroom that is like a flat plane, kind of almost sticking out like an extra, like...
Terrace.
Yes, a terrace is a great word for it. That there seem to be some buildings, some old, maybe abandoned buildings from. You see birds, ravens, you would surmise, circling all around the city. Some maybe tiny motes that might be flocks of regular-sized ones, all the way up to giant, maybe colossal-sized birds that circle this city, including the one of Ravenmount Juniper, somewhere up there, presumably, which was an individual, a halfling who was bundled up completely in leathers and layers, who greeted you as an emissary of Deepwood. You've kind of been told you may or may not have an immediate warm welcome, but you will be potentially granted an audience with the Council of Elders who help rule this kind of tree city for 2 reasons. First, because you guys hoped, for certainly a little bit of rest inside the safety of a city, but also, on the road you found out from the city of Agmar, another city, Crossroads, had been attacked. Its large gate and bridge had been ripped down, and that the city had to be evacuated. A good number of people had made the easy journey up to Agmar and were currently being welcomed and taken care of, but another group was heading to Deepwood. You were asked, please try to ensure a safe arrival, whatever that means. But that is not a quest for this evening, for night is falling, and you have to essentially wait to be called up.
We wait in line another day.
Yeah,
another
exactly.
city.
Yep, exactly. You take your numbers and go from there.
Why did we rush all the way here if we were just going to wait in line?
This ride sucks.
So, presumably, but essentially you guys have been told you can still wait underneath the tree and kind of still get a degree of protection for a night. You're still exposed to the elements, but presumably there is enough guards and, kind of mystical protections that an evening spent under the tree will be a safe one.
As we approach the tree, what kind of entrance is there? Is there like a big gate surrounding the tree? Is there like how do you get up into it?
Well, that is a question that you do not have the answer to, even as you approach. But it is a notable question, because you would obviously be like, well,
yeah.
Hey, so how do we go? Where's the in? Where's the out?
I would like to be up there, please. How do I do that?
Well,
at some point.
I could tell you if we were playing this in England, we would just get on the lift.
Damn it. So, you are approaching, and the scale of this is somehow continues to be more and more awe-inspiring the closer you get. No matter, there's no sense of scale. Your brain almost has a hard time wrapping its head around something as mundane as a tree being as large as this is. Again, it is hundreds, if not maybe like thousands of feet all the way around. It is thick, sturdy, and old. You see at the base of this tree that right near some of its roots, there is an opening that you could maybe, if you squinted, might be a way in. But as you approach, it doesn't lead all the way back. Like, you can't see through it. It seems to lead into somewhere, and there's lighting, but there's no grand entryway. There's nothing. The only other kind of clue you get is that, again, there is a central waterfall going down the trunk of this tree, and you can pick out lights going all the way up. You realize as you get closer, because you're trying to figure this out, you realize, holy shit, that might be an elevator that goes from somewhere inside of the roots all the way up to the city.
And Kascorin will turn to Checkers and say, this looks like something like by the ports at Lotros. They have these like giant pulleys to hoist cargo up from the ships down below. I wonder if they use something similar here.
It would make sense. That's a trek to the top of that tree for any person.
I do not envy anyone that has to turn that pulley.
I hope there's a team.
I hope it's magic.
As you approach, you start to see not just kind of all of the light emanating off of both high above you, behind the waterfalls, and again, kind of underneath the root system where you assume maybe the elevator is located. You start to notice that there are a couple of campfires that other people have gathered underneath. There are 2 or 3 kind of off on their own, and then kind of a larger grouping where there's a dozen plus fires that seem to be kind of a large group. As you guys approach from now the darkness, no one really acknowledges you. Everyone just kind of like looks at you awkwardly as a stranger in a supermarket, basically.
I imagine Kascorin is kind of walking past some of these groups and their campfires as people are getting set up and kind of like hunkering down for the night.
Yeah.
And he is going to try and get closer to the elevator. Like I imagine like the giant tree is towering overhead, and like even the roots of this tree are giant and they feel expansive. Like they feel like walls as he's getting closer to this thing. But he's going to try and see like, Can we just go up? You know, like it's late, it's dark. Like I kind of just want to be in the city.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
So is anyone else following Kascorin? And are you inviting everyone else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I assume we were just following Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dad said we could go,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Kascorin, you stride past all these groups of people, and especially as you get closer to the roots, definitely people are kind of like looking over you to be like, wait a second, what's that? What are they doing over there? Wait,
Are they just looking at us and they're like, ugh, newcomers?
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on.
No, I imagine they're like, we could have done that all along.
Yeah. Wait a minute. We could just go in and,
Yeah.
and go up.
It's a combination of all of these reactions and more. As you go in, it becomes much more obvious that it's much more like a natural tunnel that goes underneath these roots that by themselves are thicker probably than almost any tree you've ever seen. Just the root, a single root alone, would be gargantuan. There is torchlight all over the place, and you walk in and there are just kind of rows of torches going all the way back, and it goes back a good 100 feet.
Actually, Selv will kind of look at the torches in the tree with all that wood and just kind of, is it a magical light that looks like a torch, or are they actually legitimate torches that are giving off heat and smoke and all of that?
They're a little too far up for you to be able to tell if they are giving off heat, but they appear to be flame I'll put it that way. Like, it's
Okay.
not light spells, it is actual burning
Actual
flame.
Okay.
As we enter, is there any type of signage?
No,
Okay.
there's not.
Just save ourselves a 100-foot walk of like visitors.
Please wait in
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
here's your
There's
number.
a visitor center. We can go get a map somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting Deepwood. We are temporarily closed for remodeling. Please see us next year for grand opening.
Soon, two individuals come up to you. They are similar to Ravenmount Juniper, wrapped entirely in leathers, in armor, have those same kind of almost goggles on, so you can see their eyes a little bit through them, but it's actually pretty murky.
Mm-hmm.
As they approach, Val's waiting.
Kascorin trying to appear very non-threatening, and he also makes sure that the Golden Tree Guild badge is like clear and present on his armor.
Excuse me. What are the five of you doing here?
We are travelers. We are from the Golden Tree Adventuring Guild branch in Agmar, and we have traveled a long and difficult way to get here, hoping to find some respite, hoping to find warm beds, good drink in the wall, in the trees, the boughs of Deepwood.
Yeah, we say bows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a word.
Are you here on any particular business?
We were hoping to speak to the Council of Deepwood. We have some questions, and we have a request.
The second one kind of leans into the first one and says something. And the first one who's been talking to you kind of like nods his head a little bit and is like, Guilders. Okay. Haven't had it too many of yours around recently, but yeah, we were told to look out for you. Golden Tree, you said, right?
That's us.
Hey, you know us.
We were told to watch out for you. The other one's like, actually, I know you guys.
So we're famous.
Well, do we recognize the other one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, like, the guild.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, okay.
The
Sorry,
Golden Tree is a very
Not
old-
us.
individuals of the guild.
Yeah, so,
You-
just to
yeah.
clarify,
the guild, not the
that person
guilders.
that person
Yeah.
recognizes the guild name and not us
Mhm.
individually.
Sorry about that. We're tired. It's been a long day.
That's I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't clear. Just it's cool to meet real guilders.
If I may ask, how did you hear of the Golden Tree?
Oh, I mean, a lot of the people who live here and work here, especially the Ravenmounts and the guards like us. I mean, we really appreciate old, traditional, older orders and stories and heroes. And the first one kind of like rolls his eyes a little bit. It's like, to be clear, we were told to wait for you guys because a Ravenmount told us to.
Thank you for the clarification. Are we allowed up?
Simultaneously, they both say, no.
Oh. Will we be allowed up?
They kind of look at each other, and the first one kind of says, I'll put it this way. If a Ravenmount is vouching for you, I'd put good odds on it.
Excellent.
I want to try something, actually. Kascorin looks towards the one that got kind of excited
Mm-hmm.
and says, that's a real shame. You know, we've been traveling for 8 just adventure-packed days. My feet are tired. I love a drink. And boy, the stories that I could tell you of even just what happened out in the plains outside of Agmar would blow your mind. But it's just, I'd really love a place to sit down first. And it's trying to, he like looks wistfully at the tree and is trying to get one of the guards to like let us in, and like, you know, we'll share stories with you if you'll let us into the tree.
Roll me a persuasion check. Does anyone like to aid in this persuasion check?
No.
No.
I was like, no, he's on his own.
Yeah.
I was
Only
trying to think,
Kascorin
like,
gets
how?
lights up.
Because I was like, oh, I cast guidance, but I have to like say something.
Yeah, you have to like visibly be like, prey upon him.
Yeah.
There's a faint glow. And then he's like, by the way, maybe you should let us up.
Wink, wink, nudge,
So
nudge.
the background that I took for Salve was Far Traveler,
Mm-hmm.
which is you can parlay this attention into access to people and places you might not otherwise have for you or your
hey.
traveling companions. Noble lords, scholars, and merchant princes, to name a few, might be interested in hearing about your distant homeland and people.
Ooh, I mean,
And Kascorin will specifically call that out and kind of like wink and like kind of nudge towards Salve and just like, Salve here is a monk from a far off monastery. He alone has traveled thousands of miles and is now joining us as an esteemed member of this ancient order.
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush.
what would you say, Steve? Is there a thing or fact, or just like not even fact, maybe just vibe about the monastery, your order, or anything that you think might particularly resonate with this person, with people who are sworn guards of an ancient tree city, or anything like that, to kind of like really drive it home?
The only thing that immediately comes to mind is just pure elevation. I come from a place that, you think the tree is tall. That's like the base of the base of the mountain is about that high, and then it just goes up from there.
So what does Self say?
So
In the monastery, the elevation that we are at, it tends to be very cold up there. Are there temperature differences between here and the first level of the city or the top level of the city? Does it snow?
The second one, who was very enthusiastic, was like, "Oh, yeah, but I mean, sure, not as much as you guys." And the first one kind of like cuts him off, and then like turns back to Kascorin as you like finish saying whatever it is you were gonna say.
And so Kascorin again steps forward, trying to display the guild badge, but also he stands in like a similar posture of the two soldiers, letting them know, like, I get it. We're all guards here.
Love
Like,
that.
come on, guys.
Yep.
So I'm gonna roll with advantage. I needed it.
Useful.
That is 22.
Ooh. Okay. The second guard gets cut off in his enthusiasm about temperature changes, and the first one looks at you and really you can almost see through kind of these tinted cloudy lenses. You can almost see you see a set of eyes squinting and kind of glaring at you. And he says, "How long are you guys planning to be here?"
We really are just looking for answers to where we need to go to next. So honestly, if we get
Couple
those
of days at the most,
a
I
day or
guess.
two.
They kind of talk amongst themselves just for a second, and they just kind of then shrug. "Follow us."
Hey there, it's Jonathan here with the midroll. Did you know that one of the easiest ways to support the shows you love is to give them a rating? That's right. Rating and reviewing your favorite shows gives others the chance to learn about them, and maybe find their new favorite show too. If you want to support us directly, you can check out our Ko-fi, where we have our How to Promo document. It's a pay-what-you-want resource that gives you the basics of getting your tabletop role-playing product out in front of others. Also, we have merch. Check out our website at recklessattack.com for links to all of our merchandise and links to all of the artists that we partner with. That's all from me. Thanks again, and hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
The two guards turn on their heels and start walking towards the base of the towering tree. They lead you into a large, cavernous entryway between the city's roots, taking you into the tree itself. It's one of those things where the deeper you go, the sense of scale just starts to kind of blow your mind a little bit. And it's like, holy shit, we're still walking through this tree, and there are still torches farther than I can see going that. Oh.
how big is this area? Like, I'm assuming it's kind of like a tunnel almost.
Yeah, it's
but how big is it, and how do we get the sensation that there is an enormous amount of weight above us?
It's very jarring because it is probably 30 feet tall. So it's pretty sizable. And
so it's like spacious.
Yes.
But spacious in that it's a giant tunnel /
It's only 1% of the height of the tree.
Exactly.
Because they'd have to like send caravans through here, like, and cargo and stuff. Like, I imagine it's a big entrance.
Yeah, and you would know that back in the day, this was just a perfectly normal functioning city. So yeah, people would come all the time, and like, even when it was built, clearly it was meant to be this big like bastion of like connection between the outside world and the wood. And so obviously it needs to be pretty big to get enough outside world up into it to connect with. Eventually, you get to an area where it is carved in kind of this even bigger rotunda, where it goes up another maybe 20 feet at its apex. Above you, you see this large carved out circle that also similarly stretches into darkness for quite some time before maybe you can see a few motes of light. You can start now, and you just kind of realize you've been starting to hear it for the last 100 feet, is you hear water crashing. Again, you know that you're not even all that deep into this place. And they say, just wait here for a second.
Val turns and stares directly at Checkers.
Why are you looking at me? I'm not thinking about anything. Just me, just good old Checkers here. Hanging out.
I'm just looking at you. Keep an eye on you.
And Kascorin and Checkers just like stealthily pulls out a cardboard cutout of him.
Similar to oh my gosh,
Our PI tree guy.
yeah, Alareth.
Yeah.
That's where it's just
A wooden carving.
perfectly carved.
I feel like Checkers is still kind of reeling from the effects of yesterday, where he climbed a giant skeleton saint and had a great story to tell, but didn't really get what he wanted out of it. So he's a little more chill today about climbing.
Jonathan,
Yes.
this person is going up to something that is a way to communicate all the way up at the top of the tree.
Hey!
Yeah. It could be that. What is it that this person uses to communicate upwards? Is it just a weird knot that they touch? Is it a mushroom? Is it something? What little thing, what little device, what little bit of nature do they connect with?
You're gonna regret asking me that question because
I
the
won't.
only thing I can think about is like one of those one of those curved horns that they blow into and just makes like this loud sound. And I don't know why I was thinking about this. It was like they must be yodeling or something, just because of the vast distances. So it's like a combination of
It's like they use Morse code.
yeah, but
through
yodel,
through
yeah.
yodels.
Yeah,
And Doots.
yeah, right.
Done.
So it is Morse code through yodels and doots.
I love it because, like, when you said a giant horn, I'm like, oh, this is like a weird didgeridoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also.
But I love it more that,
I thought it was
Yodels.
just gonna be ravens because
yeah.
like the whole motif, but like no.
Ravens are up top.
Yeah.
We're
Ah,
underground. They
okay.
don't like the end.
Honestly, I was kind of picturing like similar to like a horn, but you speak into the wide end, but it's actually a flower.
I was
And then-
imagining like a vine.
Yeah, and then
Same
like, yeah,
thing.
it gets repeated out at the
Like the
Nope.
ones that like hang like a bell.
yeah.
And then you just like kind of pull it down, like, hey.
He just pulled it down. It's like
As all of your characters are wondering, oh, how are they going to get word up? Maybe there's a vine. Maybe there's some
Yeah.
sort of cool flower. The two guards, just from a weird side compartment, just drag on wheels this giant like horn, which is like intricately artistically carved out of fine finished wood and has a bunch of like
Oh,
decoration.
I thought it was like the horn of a creature. Like, what are those crazy sheep that have like spiral
Rams.
horns?
Oh,
yeah.
They're like I'll find it.
No, because this one is specifically where it is roughly humanoid height, but curls around a little bit and then points straight upwards. They kind of like look up and then look down at the horn and just line up the I don't know, God, What's the end bit of a horn? The out part.
The mouth?
They line up the out part.
The horn?
The horn part.
Is that the horn? Is it just the horn? They line up. They line it up.
The speaker.
And actually, both at the same time. And it's not just kind of a little tube mouth. It's kind of a larger thing to accommodate this large horn. They both, in not a beautiful sing-song voice, but in a very effective, practiced, and harmonized sing-song, just kind of start hitting notes. Up and down, aren't really using any words or saying anything, but are just clearly communicating upwards.
I gotta say, I think having guards who can all yodel must be the most effective security system in all of
You have to
Ristia.
yodel,
Right.
or else.
Right. Because you can't get up to the tree otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sergeant Ricola, report.
Yes. And after a little bit, the echoes, die down, and you actually wait for a few minutes for a response. And the guards don't seem bothered by this at all. They're just like, yeah, it's gonna be a bit. Just got to talk to people, and it's a whole thing.
That was unexpected.
And then Selv will reach into his pouch and take out a couple silver and hand them to Cass.
What was the? No, I don't need to know. It's not important. It's not important.
I'm just imagining I have to take the silver coins immediately and hand them to the fortunate because Kascorin is in debt.
Yes.
There's a whole daisy chain of like, we all owe each other.
Just the fortunate is actually holding all of your money for you guys now because
Great.
they've just won so much. So after a few minutes, you hear from, again, impossibly far away, these reverberating notes. And eventually, and it sounds, you can't really make sense of it because there's so much echo until it finally makes its way all the way down to where you guys are. It hits this rotunda in this really perfect way where it is like, like if you're standing in a cathedral and you can hear a whisper from 50 feet away, that's the level of acoustics suddenly this place has. And it is beautiful in its harmonies as opposed to its execution. But you hear this interesting sing-song notes popping around, kind of all around you guys.
I can imagine it too. We start walking in towards this little rotunda, and all of a sudden, like, we can hear our footsteps, and like we can hear like whispers and Mango's like blah 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 blah. blah.
Exactly.
Much
You
more
can hear
than we normally
every
would.
frog blink.
Yeah.
It's that moist flapping sound.
I never thought that checkers was so squishy until now.
Let's do a little character building. What's the worst sound that you guys hear right now in this rotunda? No. The two guards look at each other and then look at you guys.
Are we all gonna have to do that?
Checkers ask, hopefully.
Are we all gonna get to do that?
Hold on. That's a way more interesting question than you realize.
Nice.
And I, Nathan, need a moment to figure out what the right response
Hang on, let me
is.
look at what Selv's performance is.
I'm imagining, if you'll permit me, for theatricality, you ask that question, finally, as a platform descends. And you can kind of see it, again, you start to be able to make it out from whatever light is up above. And very soon, especially those of you with dark vision, can see the bottom of something that kind of perfectly fits in this circular hole. It extends into the room. And it is just a simple wide platform. It's probably 20 feet across, so, medium sized, with hand railings and all that good stuff. At the center is a massive vine, or, wrapping of kind of miscellaneous plant materials. And on the sides of it, trailing down and almost wrapped around some of the hand railings, is moss. And so there are 4 kind of grasping tendrils of moss that actually appear to be lowering this platform down the middle of the room. And the guards kind of make sure that you and their ceremonial wooden yodeling horn are well out of the way, and they gesture for you guys to get aboard.
I will say, I lied earlier when I said Checkers ran out of energy to climb. At the sight of this giant, thick vine that is connected to this large wooden platform, Checkers just yells out, "Race it to the top!" And he and Mango just run over to the giant vine and begin climbing it as fast as he can.
As you guys lift off, and this moss starts to kind of gather you upwards, Checkers, roll me a Constitution saving throw, please.
7.
You climb for about 3 minutes before the road catches up with you.
Let me roll for Mango. Like 8.
Yeah, your webbed feet, while it is a incredible climbing apparatus, really are like, oh, I am tired, actually.
Yeah.
Wait, so does the vine stay at the bottom? Like, is it like a central shaft that the pillar, like the rotunda, is like being pulled around?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it is kind of almost like a stabilizing thing, or maybe a failsafe or something. But yeah, the vine itself is not moving, and it is the moss that is propelling you guys seemingly upwards.
For some reason, I just have a vision of like Kascorin is just like throwing things at Checkers as like Checkers is feverishly climbing on this vine and like slowly coming back down as he's losing ground. Yeah. And then Checkers just like angrily just like pouts on.
Right. Stupid tree city. They're on an elevator, you are on an escalator. So you are moving quicker than you would otherwise, but you still are having to locomote, and therefore, as you ascend hundreds of feet upwards, you get a little tired. Eventually, again, you start to get to, I guess, the equivalent of floors, but where there is just kind of windows with torchlight once again. And each time you come across one, you hear rushing water just go past you, as the waterfall is clearly on the other side. After several minutes of ascent, and kind of discombobulating minutes in that it's a little faster than your bodies were probably accustomed to.
I feel like Val's trying to look at everything and just like waiting for those breaks in the tree where she can like see out, and then like she gets too intently focused on it, and it's like, oh no.
Got motion
She's got to like sit down, put her head between her knees.
Kascorin's just trying to get his ears to pop.
Mop, mop, mop. After a bit of ascent, you feel it start to slow, and you can see even more light above you. And the elevator arrives at its destination. You guys are seemingly in the front and center of the city. All the kind of small details you saw on the approach are now real and tangible. It is a beautiful city. It's hard to describe, but it seems like everything is made out of a single piece of wood. All carved, all buildings are flush with the ground. All trees seem to be branches that stem upwards. There's dirt and things on the ground. There are pathways, but it all appears to be one single part of this tree.
Is it like if somebody took like mold earth and like made a building? It's
Yes.
just like a continuation.
Yes, that is a perfect way of putting it. It is like almost there are no edges, no creases. It is all just kind of gentle slopes upwards. And again, there are phosphorescent mosses and even just moats that kind of hang in the air mysteriously. There's birds everywhere. And I believe I described it, but it is a multi-level city as well. So you guys are on like the first level, and it's up 2-3 levels that are hundreds of feet up there. And again, there's moss everywhere. There's birds. There's flowers. There's all kinds of things happening and growing and thriving up here. But there's not as much mortal life as you were maybe expecting. And as you look around, not many lights are on. There are some. There are people in the streets, of course. There are buildings. All the buildings still look great, well taken care of. But for being this large, giant city atop a tree that was kind of a self-styled bastion and lighthouse and place of contact, not many people are up here. Except, of course, for Juniper, the halfling Ravenmount, who is waiting at the top of this elevator. And he says, so you guys got impatient, huh?
You cannot keep this man, and Val points to Cass, out of a city for too long.
And like he's been chatting with the younger guard on the way up here. It's like, okay, so we saw this portal, okay, we're 2 days out of the city, and there's just like thing keeps following us. And he's like, sharing some of the stories already as we're like moving on up in here.
Juniper, you don't understand. You didn't tell me they're really. I mean, it's like.
And he gives Juniper a wink of like, yeah, we got it in here.
You get it. You understand. Juniper says, well, I had to vouch for you guys, which is fine. I have enough reputation to throw around. But, we don't let people up here uninvited. I invited you. You're fine. You're not in trouble. But just know that your presence here is both welcome and unique.
We appreciate you inviting us, and we will make sure we are good stewards of your hospitality.
Selv will bow.
Thank you for inviting us up.
Hey, Juniper, I have a question.
Are you, like, sweaty? Do frogs get sweaty?
I'm clammy, but I'm always clammy.
Right, exactly. Why do you look so tired?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Those two knew about the golden tree. Do you know about the golden tree?
A little bit. I know the name. I know that you had branches kind of all over the place. I think you were one of the ones who was gone for a bit, maybe? Is that right?
Yes, that is right. As
Yes.
Val's like, come on, guys, we learned this in
Come on."
orientation.
Does everyone know about the golden tree here?
I think a lot of the guards and a lot of the Ravenmounts probably know, not necessarily about you guys or about the Golden Tree, but about guilders, about
I mean,
saints, about all that kind of stuff.
it goes with their general motif.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We don't get a lot of outsiders here, and so we don't really think of a lot of like tree puns a lot.
Juniper's like, haha, tree humor.
Yeah.
Wow, so original.
So somehow I haven't heard that one before, but I've heard enough.
Now why don't you make like a leaf?
And get out of here.
And he starts
It
started just kind of waving you guys on and starts kind of walking, and he is still covered in head to toe. Now, I already sent word to a local tavern. It's a little far, but trust me, it's really comfortable, really nice. And first round on me. Come on, let's go. The group of you walk a little ways, turning away from the elevator and this big center of town, and quickly going off of some of the main thoroughfares into side streets, alleyways, that sort of thing, that crisscross the street in a winding fashion. After a little bit, as you guys have been walking and chatting, and Juniper has pointed out the local sites, that sort of thing, Checkers, it occurs to you that he is not taking you in a straightforward route. It's very gradual. It's very well hidden and well practiced. It is not obvious, but it becomes apparent to you. It's like, wait, if we just turned left there, we would have gotten to this much faster, and it's just taking a little bit of a circuitous route to wherever it is you guys are going.
So it's obvious to Checkers that we're taking the scenic route.
Exactly. He's not necessarily, like, he is answering questions if you guys are like, holy shit, what's that? But he's not giving you guys a tour.
I'm assuming he's trying to get us somewhat lost and turned around so we don't know exactly where we are. But,
I was going to ask, too, as soon as we start kind of veering off the main path, that might ring some alarm bells. for checkers, as these kinds of routes aren't well known and maybe are more frequented by the less savory sorts of folks.
Would you like to make any sort of roll? Would you like to tell someone in the party? And again, for you guys, it's just a weird new place and there's lots to see. And so I'm going to just say that like it hasn't quite caught on for you guys to even like occur to be like, wait, where are we?
Oh, Val is the one who's asking a non-stop slew of questions. to
Yeah, but
Juniper.
what's that? What is that, Moz? And do you grow that naturally here? Does it? Yeah.
Is that one edible? Is that one edible?
Those checkers questions.
Yeah.
Val would be asking what they are.
I think checkers would actually ask Selv, or tell Selv, like, hey, Selv, I know we're famous here, but I don't like the look of this. I feel like Juniper's taking us somewhere we're not supposed to be, and maybe there's other people here that we don't want to be associated with.
Really?
So Selv will start paying closer attention to kind of where we're going, and I don't know how to. Well, I will describe this as if it was a regular city, and we can make the transition to what a tree city would look like. But
It's actually kind of laid out as if someone who had never stepped foot in a city in their entire lives looked at 3 maps of a city and are like, yeah, I got this. And so it is like sort of familiar, but kind of in a weird uncanny valley of streets and layouts and alleyways.
Is it like East Coast cities where it's like, we built this one part that made total sense, and then like, oh, we just added on to it, and then like it makes more.
It's a little bit of that, but at the same time, it's like as if someone had looked at an East Coast city and you're like, well, I guess that's what cities look like. So yeah, it's all just kind of weird, haphazard, but I don't quite understand why. But I translated it into tree version.
And are the other 2 guards still with us?
No.
Okay.
Actually, one stayed down, and the other one went up just again, maybe to hear Kascorin keep telling him stories, but went back down on the elevator just to go back down.
So just
yeah, he was still on shift, but the first guard was like, yeah, you can go.
Yeah.
while Selv has not been in a lot of cities, there are some general things that he is going to look at now, and the first being typically inns and taverns would be on the main stretch of like the main thoroughfare of the city or the town, because that's where people are coming in.
Yep,
that's where
certainly.
So does it look like we are well off of that?
I won't even have you make a perception check. You absolutely are.
Okay. And also the fact that there are not that many people here, why wouldn't we just go to the closest one?
So would you like to make a roll or something to figure out where you are, to try to read, or to try and tell other people?
I would like to kind of do a quick insight on Juniper. Just to kind of, does Juniper look like tense or, like, or anything like that, or waiting for, some kind of signal or something?
Okay. Give me an insight check.
Total of 12.
Juniper is a smooth customer. Even as you're looking for something, as far as Juniper is concerned, like, oh yeah, this is just a normal walk and we're just talking and I have these weird tourists behind me who are a little pushy, but they seem nice enough, and so sure, I'll answer their questions, etc., etc. Juniper, as far as you can tell, is betraying nothing.
Then next, I would like to try to get Val's attention.
She is just question after question. I feel like Juniper has pretty brief and to the point answers, so she asks a lot of follow-up questions, really trying to get to know the entire ecosystem of the Tree City. Who was the architect? Who was their firstborn? Like the whole life history. So she's just nonstop.
So I will use that. I'll kind of put my hand on Val's shoulder and just say,
Val, we will have plenty of time to ask these questions.
And then I will tap my forehead and like point to her and tap my forehead again.
Matt will cast mine. That's a pretty clear sign.
Juniper like pauses and just turns around and just misses you doing it. Yeah.
Does Kascorin kind of get the sense that something's going on at this point?
I would say there was no stealth rolls or anything.
Okay.
Like you would see yourself like go up. Maybe.
And also, Selv is not trying to hide it from Cass.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Like, I think
Okay.
absolutely.
Val casts Mind Link. It's like, Self, what the heck? I want my questions answered. This is amazing. We're at a tree city. So many things are happening. And she's going to just be like rattling on in her mind at Self.
Val,
Like, what?
Val.
What?
Selv will basically say what Checkers told him, and that we could have gotten to an inn a lot faster. We could have gotten to this spot a lot faster. Juniper's taking us somewhere that they don't want us to know. There's something going on. Please tell Cass.
Okay.
I would like to make another insight check against Juniper, just so I can gauge what the vibe is.
Absolutely.
Because I suspect we may need to make a hasty retreat, or at least try to do a diversion.
Yeah, and I'll say that you have already... Val also mind link pinged you. You are caught up.
14.
I'm going to ask you. It's not much better than what Self rolled.
Okay.
But it is very close. So what I'm going to ask you is what are you looking for specifically, or do you do something to... This is going to sound like a loaded word. Do not read into my use of the following word. To provoke a information from him. You know, are you going to ask a question? Are you going to say something? Are you going to, oh God, I tripped and whatever.
So Kascorin begins sneezing uncontrollably. And he's just like, achoo! And it's like, my allergies are acting up. Like something's going on here. And he kind of like points towards a path that may go in the direction of like the main city that's in a different direction that Juniper's going, and it's like, I can't move, I can't go forward. We have to turn that way, and it's just like,
So you start stumbling that direction. Juniper pauses for a second and looks at you, and what you would notice is that he looks down the road, alley, whatever that you're kind of stumbling towards. And you can see his eyes squint just a little bit. Again, just barely. What makes it especially hard to read because he's covered, his whole face is covered. There's just that pause. And he looks back at you. And then he darts over to Kascorin and kind of puts his halfling hands around you and is like, oh my goodness. Oh, sorry. I mean, pollen, right? It's I forget the people, who don't live in tree and bird all the time, can do that. And he definitely kind of starts just steering you back to the group. Definitely, clearly, only making sure you're sticking with everybody. Kascorin, what would you like to do kind of in this moment? You saw him look down that direction and then act, and then start just steering you back. Of course, you want to be on the right path going to the place with the group. Does Kascorin react in any way?
I'm going to sneeze so hard into his face. And I want to cover his visor.
Or the goggles.
His goggles with just gross snot. And it's just the pollen is terrible. And it's just yeah, it's okay.
Okay, I'm going to allow a Blades in the Dark style flashback. Being able to just spew over someone's, goggles just with natural saliva. That's tough. But if you had been I have a plan, I know what I'm going to do. What is Kascorin spitting all over the face of seemingly very helpful Ravenmount Juniper?
So while we were walking, as Selv and Valeska were mind linking, Kascorin pulls something from one of his pouches, and it's Valeska's granola. And so as he's walking, he has chipmunk cheek, chews this stuff. Gets it nice and
gooey and mushy.
Gooey. Yeah. And then just
Val's is full of dates.
Yeah. So when
they're delicious and they're a natural sweetener.
I'm not. We have a Dungeons and Dragons game to play. We can't talk about this right now.
And so when he sneezes, he covers Juniper's goggles with starchy, gross, dates and oats and just it's viscous.
Yeah, I'm imagining that just stops him in his tracks. We're just what the hell? What do you do with this? You have a moment where you knew this was coming. You were the only one who knew this was coming. But you have a split second before he starts wiping, reacting, anything. What do you do with this window of time?
I haven't thought that far.
Right.
after sneezing on Juniper, he kind of turns the tables a little bit. He like switches it and like more forcefully leads him down the path that Catherine wanted to go. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't believe like, Dwarven's not, prodigious for being extremely filled with
Oh, we gotta get that cleaned up before
granular.
it sets.
Yeah,
we cannot
right,
let
yeah.
that get
It's
set
gonna harden a rock in
on
about
your
20
goggles
minutes, so.
too. No.
I heard sometimes it's used as a glue.
Okay, so to be clear, who is I love this. This is very good. So Kascorin, you are busy dragging, distracting, kind of like stretching this moment as long as possible. Are any other people piling on to keep him as distracted as long as possible? And is anyone else looking out, trying to make a break for it? Like, what again, this is a moment that Kascorin is like busting ass to just like someone do something. Someone do something.
Val hands Cass a rag covered in ink to help wipe off the goggles.
Checkers is going to do two things. One, he's going to go through Juniper's pockets, if he has any pockets, and just quickly rifle around, see if there's something in there that might give us a clue as to what they were trying to do or where they were trying to take us. With one hand, he reaches into Juniper's pockets, and in the other hand, he puts Junior back into that pocket.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot I had a magic item.
That would have been.
I take out the liminal looking glass and read Juniper's surface thoughts.
In this moment, okay. Steve, what are you doing? This is all happening immediately.
Selv is just, I'm going to keep an eye out. While they're all doing their stuff, I'm going to look around for anybody else and see if there's anybody moving out there.
Sleight of hand roll from Checkers. Especially because Val is helping you, Kascorin, to exacerbate the situation, and you are much denser than this little halfling.
Yeah, he's like using his strength to like basically hold him in place. He's being cordial, but it's like, oh no, we gotta get this off of you. And
Right.
He's just like wiping his mask.
Come on,
down.
just,
Yeah.
no, stop. And he's like immediately like, I don't like this.
Real bad rolls from Checkers. I got a 10 on Sleight of Health. I got a 10 on Sleight of Hand.
Okay, roll me a perception check.
Sure.
Self.
Rolls and words are hard for Checkers today. Wow.
13.
All of this is happening at once. Kascorin, again, is kind of bodying Juniper down the way. As it's happening, is like smearing, or maybe Juniper's maybe like smearing with one hand this rag that is supposed to be helping, and like, oh God, why is it even dark? I can see even less now. And Checkers goes in to see if there's something in one of his, again, there's many pockets, but you can see that there's something in one of the pockets. And you go in, and Juniper slaps your hand and grabs it.
Oh no.
And like he feels like your hand go into his pocket, and he grabs your wrist. Val, you kind of have a moment because you're going like, hand it, boom, magnifying glass right away, draw it from the pocket, and you attune to it. And the words, other than a lot of cursing and a lot of like, what? Oh my God, wait, what's the hand? Oh God, what? Is they're not supposed to see. Selv, you see down the road a glimpse of a mortal person who has like ducked down an alleyway. And I don't know, Checkers, we can see if you break out of it or whatever, but like grabs you and is like, okay, what is happening? What is happening?
I suppose that's a good question we could ask you.
Kascorin at this point has donned his armor. He's changed the color of his rock to be more dense and is basically bear hugging Juniper. As Juniper is like screaming, like, what is going on? What is this? Kascorin will yell, that's something we were hoping you'd be able to tell us. We don't appreciate being lied to. Why are we going this way instead of the inn?
Call off your bird.
Behind you, a large raven who looks slightly familiar lands. What am I lying to you about? I let you in.
Val was just take this opportunity to actually clean Juniper's goggles.
And he like, no, you stay there. Let's just, and he looks up at his raven. He's like, let's all just relax What?
I apologize. This situation escalated. We are wondering why we're taking a winding path to get where we're going. And I would also like to know what we're not supposed to see.
You want to see the sights, right? You're asking, I mean, there's so many questions. All right, look.
Sorry, I just love how Juniper so quickly was like, no.
Yeah, let's fuck this.
Selv will just kind of cross his arms. Just wait.
And there's still no activity anywhere near you guys.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, what I'm going to say now is you realize it's very quiet around here. And he says, all right, look.
I'm looking. Show me something.
And you get these feelings where, like, Juniper is boiling up with this frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not sure, and maybe Juniper's not sure what exactly he's frustrated at, but is frustrated. And with desperation in his tone of voice and in his body, he shouts to you to show you this. He takes off his goggles and rips off some of the, not bandages, but like wraps and like masking and stuff around his face. And you see that other than his kind of black hair that you saw previously, he is a very normal looking halfling, except every color, every pigment in his skin is totally white. And that is where we'll end this week's episode, everyone. Hooray! See
That
you next
was
week.
not what I was expecting.
No shit. See you guys next time.
Bye.
As you all know, I keep the big numbers facing up for dice training.
As one does.
But the percentile dice
I still keep the zeros up.
is zeros and tens, etc. So I really should be doing 90.
Yeah.
But
But
no, because
90 is worse.
because if you taking it 1 through 10, the 0 is 10. The 0 is
Well,
10.
see, that's how it always had. That's how a lot of people have interpreted it. But I have seen very compelling arguments on the internet that all D100 tables should not go to 100. The highest number you should be able to roll
0 to 99.
0 to 99.
Not 1 to 100.
But on no other die can you roll 0.
I know, and that's why D10s are fucked up. Because this one has a
Percent-
0 on it.
Which is 10.
Which is,
Which is zero.
or is it just 0?
No, it's 10.
Or is it
I don't see a
0?
one on
But
Steve will
Steve-
die on this.
It's a 0.
Now, when did the Reckless Jack podcast
So-
start to go?
Here's the thing. When
It's when we had to take Steve and Nathan to the hospital for a fist fight.
like black guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting little thing there is that in the original game set, the original D20 didn't go to 20.
So there's historical precedence. I rest my case.
Yeah. Well, it went 1 to 10 twice.
Oh, that's fun.
And your 1 to 10, was
fucked up.
it was two different colors. So it was whatever you colored it in with a crayon, but normally it was like red and black or something
Wait,
like that.
I'm sorry, a crayon?
Yes.
Yeah.
You had to color in your own dice. It came the numbers were slightly hollowed, and so you
right,
had to
but
color
with
it
a
in.
crayon.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean we didn't have molten core dice in 1970?
Not that I'm aware of, I guess. I don't know the history.
When did markers
Not on
become a
purpose.
thing?